It was just another night on the desolate highways that wind through the most isolated parts of the country. My name's Jake, and I've been driving trucks for over a decade. The long, lonely roads, the hum of the engine, and the endless stretch of asphalt are my constant companions. That night, I found myself driving through a particularly eerie stretch of road. A thick fog had descended, swallowing up everything around me. My headlights barely pierced the mist, and the only sound was the steady beat of raindrops on the roof of my rig. The silence was oppressive, almost as if the world beyond the fog had ceased to exist. I'd heard rumors about this stretch of road on the CB radio. Truckers whispered about strange sightings, abandoned cars, and drivers who disappeared without a trace. I never gave those stories much thought, chalking them up to tall tales meant to scare newcomers. But as the fog grew thicker, a creeping sense of unease began to gnaw at me. Visibility dropped to just a few feet ahead, and the low hum of my engine seemed swallowed by the silence. The shadows cast by my headlights flickered and danced like wraiths in the night. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw him, a lone figure standing on the side of the road. Instinct told me to keep driving, to leave whatever it was behind. But something made me slow down, curiosity or perhaps a misguided sense of duty. I brought the truck to a halt beside him, squinting through the fog to get a better look. He was unnaturally pale, and the mist seemed to cling to him like a shroud. But it was his eyes that sent a shiver down my spine, large, round, and as black as the void itself. His mouth was a gaping maw, stretched wide in a way that defied the laws of anatomy. Every instinct screamed at me to get out of there. The man, if you could call him, that didn't move, didn't blink, didn't acknowledge my presence. He just stood there, staring into the fog with those soulless eyes. A cold sweat broke out on my skin as I quickly realized something was terribly wrong. I floored the gas, heart racing, leaving the eerie figure behind. My hands trembled as I grabbed the radio mic, trying to warn other truckers about what I'd seen. But the airwaves were dead. The familiar crackle of static was gone, replaced by an unsettling void. The road stretched on, seemingly endless, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the creature was still out there, somewhere in the fog, watching. After what felt like hours, I spotted a parking lot through the fog, a tiny island of safety in an ocean of mist. I pulled in, desperate for a break. The moment I turned off the engine, I locked the doors and drew the curtains, trying to push the haunting image of that figure out of my mind, but sleep wouldn't come. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those black, empty eyes staring back at me. Finally, unable to take the tension any longer, I pulled back the curtains and peeked outside. What I saw made my blood run cold. 3 more of those creatures were standing in the fog, their dark eyes fixed on my truck. They were identical to the first, with pale skin, unnaturally wide mouths, and eyes that seemed to bore into my soul. They stood there, unmoving, just staring. Then, as if on cue, they began to move toward the truck. Their movements were unnervingly smooth, almost as if they were gliding across the ground rather than walking. Panic gripped me as I frantically tried to start the engine. The key turned in the ignition, but the engine remained silent. I tried again and again, each failed attempt driving me deeper into terror as the creatures got closer. Their mouths slowly opened, and they began to emit low, guttural growls that reverberated through the metal walls of the truck. The sound was unlike anything I'd ever heard, more animal than human, and it filled the cabin with a sense of dread. Just when I thought they were going to reach me, the engine finally roared to life. I didn't hesitate. I slammed the gear into drive and floored the gas. The truck lurched forward, and I sped away from the creatures as fast as I could. In the rearview mirror, I could see them fading into the fog, their black eyes still locked onto the truck. I didn't stop until I saw the lights of a distant city on the horizon. Even then, I didn't feel safe. I parked in a well-lit area, surrounded by the comforting glow of streetlights and the hum of civilization, but the memory of those creatures lingered in my mind. I reached for the radio mic again, hoping to hear the familiar chatter of other truckers, but the silence on the airwaves persisted. The city lights pushed back the darkness, but the unease wouldn't leave me. I couldn't shake the feeling that those creatures were still out there, waiting in the shadows, watching. That night changed something in me. The road, once a familiar friend, now felt like an enemy, a place where things beyond comprehension lurked in the fog. And though the city lights offered temporary relief, I knew the haunting wouldn't end there. The road stretched on, and so did the terror, following me like a shadow that would never fully disappear.